The film opens with a chilling scene, a deadly online game unfolding in real time. A host has kidnapped a young woman, binding her to a chair. She lost his twisted game, and the consequence is death, broadcast live on the dark web for a depraved audience. Viewers, morbidly entertained, watch her terror escalate. On a table before her, 3 brutal weapons are displayed. The host announces a horrifying proposition: whoever sends the largest sum of money will choose the weapon used to execute the girl live. A disturbing donation of $500 arrives with a chilling request: a chainsaw. Without hesitation or remorse, the host's accomplices seize the power tool and gruesomely murder the girl, hacking her apart in front of the online spectators. Meanwhile, law enforcement catches wind of the horrific broadcast. Police rush to the location, hoping to intervene. They breach the scene, finding it eerily deserted save for 2 figures. A search yields a horrifying discovery within a shipping container: a single, traumatized child. The rest of the perpetrators have vanished, escaping just before the authorities arrived. The scene abruptly shifts to a scene from a while ago. We meet Ben, a weary investigator returning home. He's immediately confronted with news that chills him to the bone: the dark web game has resurfaced. Ben races to the police station. There, officers are already glued to monitors, helplessly watching the same sinister presenter they've been unable to track. In this new iteration of the game, the presenter has abducted 2 more victims, forcing them to play a desperate game of rock paper scissors. Both understand the stakes: losing means death. When they initially refuse to play, they are brutally shocked with taser guns, forcing their compliance. Finally, they play. A young woman loses, condemned to die just like the girl in the opening scene. This replay of the horrific chainsaw execution from the film's beginning solidifies Ben's resolve. He urgently instructs his cybersecurity team to track the presenter, but they hit a wall. The presenter is using sophisticated, untraceable systems, constantly outmaneuvering law enforcement. Each time his location is pinpointed, it's a dead end, allowing him to continue his reign of terror. The narrative then introduces Katia, a woman starting her first day at a new job. She impresses with her customer service skills. Her co-worker, Sophia, approaches her, but the scene cuts away abruptly. We are shown the presenter, now revealed to be monitoring Katia, and 3 others, intently. His intentions become chillingly clear: he's likely selecting new victims. Back with Ben, he pores over recordings of the presenter's earlier broadcasts. Analyzing the background, he makes a grim connection: figures in the periphery of the old broadcasts were also victims, confirming the presenter's escalating body count through illegal kidnappings. As Katia's workday ends, she prepares to leave for home, but Sophia detains her. It's Katia's first day, and Sophia wants to socialize. Katia initially hesitates, explaining her son and mother are waiting, but Sophia persuades her to stay for a quick juice. They chat, and as Katia finally departs, the presenter orders his operatives to stay alert. In a deserted area, Katia is ambushed. They swiftly overpower and knock her unconscious. The next scene reveals Katia waking up in the presenter's horrifying game location. Fear grips her. Before she can scream, a man in a mask leans close, hissing, "Speak softly. Noise gets you tossed." Katia's worry intensifies, her thoughts consumed by her waiting family. She whispers to the man next to her, "Who are these people? Why are we tied up here?" He explains he's as clueless as she is. He, too, is a recent kidnapping victim and learned the hard way about the consequences of speaking too loudly, the agonizing shock of the taser. Meanwhile, the presenter heartlessly uploads the kidnapping videos, showcasing his latest victims to his dark web audience. Ben, witnessing this, is enraged. He orders his team to gather every detail about the kidnapped individuals: their workplaces, locations of abduction, anything that could lead to a breakthrough. Ben feels trapped, hitting dead ends at every turn. An idea, desperate but potentially crucial, ignites in his mind. He seeks out a prisoner, a young man he himself apprehended in a dark web case. This prisoner had a history of navigating the dark web's underbelly, even catching and murdering a figure within it. Ben believes this former criminal might hold the key to understanding the presenter's methods. Ben shows the prisoner pictures of the kidnapped victims, details the gruesome game, and pleads for help in capturing the elusive presenter. But the prisoner shatters Ben's fragile hope. He chillingly declares the presenter to be a dark web legend, virtually untouchable. He knows the police are after him, the prisoner explains, he has backups for backups. You'll never catch him. Defeated, Ben returns to his office, only to be met with more devastating news. The presenter has abducted 2 more victims, escalating his game and continuing his reign of terror while the police remain powerless. The scene cuts again. The presenter launches his second live show of the day. This time, a larger group of terrified contestants is present, including Katia. A single bullet revolver sits ominously on the table. The presenter addresses his viewers, tonight's game will be interesting. 1 bullet, 6 contestants. Fate will decide who dies. The game commences. Contestants are forced to hold the gun to their heads and pull the trigger. One by one, they comply. When Katia pulls the trigger, nothing happens, her chamber is empty. But as the next contestant pulls the trigger, a deafening blast rips through the room. His head explodes in a spray of blood and brain matter. He's dead. A third contestant pulls the trigger. Instead of a bullet, a small flag pops out, signaling he too has lost. And so, the presenter's twisted game continues, with viewers dictating the gruesome fates of his kidnapped victims. Again, the depraved online audience dictated the next gruesome act. Another $500 donation flooded in, this time demanding the man be killed by being forced to drink bleach. The highest bidder's wish was the command. The man was forced to ingest the lethal liquid. Viewers watched in morbid fascination as the bleach ravaged his internal organs, culminating in a horrific on-screen death. The next day, newspapers blared headlines exposing the deadly online game show and its escalating body count. Yet, public outcry seemed to fall on deaf ears. The local police appeared utterly powerless. In the face of their incompetence, the case was escalated to the FBI. This shift in attention didn't escape the presenter's notice, he was meticulously monitoring every development. Meanwhile, within the grim confines of their captivity, Katia and another prisoner, Sasha, forged a desperate plan. They knew that remaining captive meant certain death. They resolved to fight back. Their strategy, when their captors next came to move them, they would overpower them, seize their weapons, and make a break for freedom. Unbeknownst to them, the presenter was always listening. He overheard their whispered plans. He summoned Katia to his office. His voice, laced with menace, filled the room. "Don't you know that talking is forbidden?" he hissed. "You've broken the rule." Instead of directly punishing Katia, he continued with chilling cruelty, "I won't punish you. Your partner will pay the price, so the guilt will forever remind you never to make such mistakes again." Moments later, the live stream flickered back to life. The girl slated for punishment was dragged onto the stage. In front of the voyeuristic audience, she was brutally whipped across her bare feet. Her agonizing screams and writhing pain seemed to elicit perverse satisfaction from the viewers, their morbid fascination with the show intensifying. Even with the FBI now involved, their location remained frustratingly elusive. Driven to desperation, Ben returned once more to the imprisoned dark web expert who had previously offered bleak assessments. He pressed him, "What does this presenter want? What's his end game?" The prisoner offered a chillingly simple explanation: he doesn't want anything concrete. He thrives on power, on control. He gets off on tormenting people. He believes by doing this, he becomes infamous. Fame, for him, is about amassing followers who share his twisted desires, those who revel in oppression, who find joy in the suffering of others. A scene shifts to a tense media conference. FBI officials, visibly uncomfortable and defensive, faced a barrage of questions. They admitted their failure to pinpoint the presenter's location but offered hollow promises of imminent breakthroughs and capture. Unseen by them, the presenter himself watched the press conference with cold, detached amusement. The narrative cuts to Ben at home. A moment of unexpected personal news pierces through the darkness of the case. His wife shares the joyous revelation that they are expecting a daughter. Joy should have flooded Ben, but his face remained etched with grim preoccupation. The weight of the case, the faces of the victims, consumed him. His wife misinterpreted his reaction, a shadow of doubt crossing her face. Could he truly be happy about their family, about their daughter, when he was so consumed by darkness? The presenter's show resumed, and a new level of audaciousness was displayed. He showcased photos of 4 individuals, brazenly announcing, "Tomorrow, I will kidnap these 4 people." It was a direct taunt, a blatant challenge to law enforcement, practically daring them to intervene. The police scrambled, urgently attempting to locate and protect the individuals he'd named. As Ben arrived at the office the next day, he was swarmed by the hungry media. A snippet of this press footage flickered across the presenter's monitors. Recognition sparked in his eyes as he saw Ben's face. Why was a seemingly ordinary policeman so deeply invested in this case? Driven by morbid curiosity, he dug into Ben's background. The truth he uncovered was dark and tragic. A brutal, unsolved crime had stolen Ben's mother and sister, leaving Ben consumed by guilt and a burning need to save others, a mission born from personal tragedy. True to his word, the presenter kidnapped the 4 individuals he had publicly targeted. Among them, chillingly, was a very young girl, a former fan of his twisted show. Perhaps she believed her admiration offered protection. The presenter swiftly dispelled any such illusion. Addressing her directly, he stated with chilling finality, "You entered my game. Here, you are not a fan. You are a victim, just like the rest." His tone shifted as he turned to address his cameras and online viewers, announcing the next game. "Today, we play dodgeball. These gamers," he gestured to a group, "will hurl balls. The rest must evade. A direct hit means death." The brutal game commenced. Contestants hurled balls with force. Victims fell. Then came the turn of the young girl and an old man. The old man picked up a ball, then, in a moment of unexpected defiance, dropped it to the floor. "I forfeit," he declared, his voice firm despite the terror. "I will not target a child." The presenter's smile turned cruel. "Here," he sneered, "the game is played by my rules, not yours." Days turned into weeks, the presenter's broadcasts abruptly ceased. Then, without warning, the show reappeared on the dark web. Ben and his team, along with FBI agents, instantly locked onto the feed. The presenter, now openly acknowledging Ben's relentless pursuit, began taunting him directly, weaving Ben into his monologue. He knew the police were watching. He recounted the old man's act of defiance, stating that both the old man and the girl had broken the rules and deserved to die. Then he presented Ben with a twisted choice. "Ben, you can save one of them. Choose who lives, choose who dies." Pressure mounted. Ben's colleagues urged him not to engage, not to play his game. But the presenter's ultimatum hung heavy: choose, or both will die. In a split second, tormented by the impossible choice, Ben stabbed at the number 2 button on his keyboard. The girl, assigned number 2, was instantly shot dead on screen. Simultaneously, police finally breached a location, but it was empty. Laughter echoed from the stream as the presenter gloated, "Did you really think it would be this easy, detective? You reached a location, but it was the wrong location. You've been played, Ben." The broadcast abruptly cut out. On the screen, the camera lingered on the old man. Overwhelmed by guilt for the girl's death, a death he felt partially responsible for triggering with his defiance, he revealed his final, desperate act. He showed viewers sharpened wires he had concealed in his shoe. In a horrifying, silent gesture, he used them to take his own life, slumping dead on the stage. Horror and grief rippled through the online viewers and the watching authorities alike. Ben, watching the grim spectacle unfold, was crushed. He felt the crushing weight of responsibility for the girl's death, a weight of guilt threatening to drown him. He knew he couldn't succumb. He had to act. As he prepared to leave for the office, a package awaited him at his doorstep. He knew, with a chilling certainty, it was from the presenter, another calculated move to further ensnare Ben in his depraved game. Meanwhile, in the game location, the presenter himself approached Katia. A cruel smile played on his lips. "Today," he announced, his voice smooth yet lethal, "is your death day. If you wish, you may speak to your little lion." Katia was stunned. "Small lion," she whispered, recognizing the pet name she used for her son. How could the presenter know this intimate detail? Memory flashed. The last time she'd used that term was with Sophia, her co-worker. Ben's mind raced. He recalled Katia's work history, just one day at this new job. If she mentioned colleague, and the presenter knew, it was a glaring hint. Sophia had to be involved. He immediately sought out Sophia. At first, Sophia was guarded, refusing to speak. Then, in a desperate act of communication, she scribbled frantic notes for Ben. Her own son had been kidnapped by the same group. She could see him constantly on a hidden camera feed. Everything she had done to Katia, the setup, the betrayal, it had all been under duress, to protect her child. Ben pressed her, When you went to see your son, where was he held? Sophia revealed the location. A chilling realization dawned on Ben. It matched the presenter's broadcast location. He knew the show was likely happening right now, at that very place. Without alerting anyone, Ben raced to the address Sophia had given him, but not before discreetly calling for backup. Meanwhile, the live stream showed chaos erupting within the game. During the latest brutal game involving guns, the remaining contestants reached a breaking point. Instead of turning the weapons on themselves, they made a desperate pact. They would fight back. They would turn the guns on their captors and seize their freedom. A hail of gunfire exploded. Gamers fired on guards, and security returned fire with lethal force. 2 gamers fell instantly, cut down in the crossfire. But 3, including Katia and Sasha, saw a chance and made a dash for escape. As Sasha and Katia reached the exit, a guard lunged, tackling Sasha to the ground. Katia hesitated, turning back to help her fellow captive. "Run!" Sasha yelled, his voice strained. "Get out! Tell the police where they are." Katia turned to flee, and collided directly with Ben, who had just arrived. Seeing her terror-stricken face, Ben reassured her, his voice calm amidst the chaos. "Backup is coming. It's going to be all right." Shielding Katia, Ben moved cautiously forward. The presenter was visible within a control room, bathed in monitor light. Seeing Ben, a cruel grin spread across his face. "If you have the courage, detective," he taunted, "shoot me." Without hesitation, driven by righteous fury, Ben raised his weapon and fired. The presenter slumped, lifeless. Ben rushed to the body, adrenaline surging. He ripped off the mask, and froze. It wasn't the presenter. It was a terrified, innocent young woman, a decoy, forced to play a role. The real presenter was long gone. The live stream captured Ben's stunned realization, the cruel joke broadcast for the morbid amusement of the online audience. Viewers erupted in laughter, mocking Ben, turning his heroic act into a public humiliation. Moments later, sirens wailed. Police swarmed the location, rescuing Katia and the remaining captives. But the presenter was nowhere to be found. Outside, a car idled. The presenter slipped into the passenger seat, and the driver, his accomplice, sped away. The film delivered its final shocking twist. The driver, the mastermind beside the presenter all along, was none other than Sophia. Sophia had orchestrated everything, the setup, the betrayals, the elaborate game, manipulating both Ben and the victims. In a chilling post-credit scene, the presenter reappeared on screen, his voice echoing with sinister promise. "Season 2, he announced, a cold smile playing on his lips. His words sent a fresh wave of horrified excitement through his viewers and plunged the authorities into renewed dread. And there, with the promise of more terror to come, the film concludes.